I was just thinking back at, or looking back at the sustainability, innovation, design, form, function, and the purpose. Like I really put Kalmura as the top for me. I think just the depth of material research and also the thoughts about the application and how widely, I think even like they don't even know how big it's going to be. So that's very exciting to see, as well as the like again, like the proofs of concepts that they created were really, really great and showed, demonstrated a lot of the material properties that they talked about. So like sound dampening and like the insulation, all of those things. And then just the thoughtfulness of the pro scheme table and how timely it is. I wasn't actually clear whether or not they had started working on that table pre-COVID, right? Or if it's something that they're thinking about as we're all trying to get back into being social humans again in person. And then, yeah, rain stick shower, I would like to put that in my house immediately. So I don't have too much more to say. I was just like completely sold.
Yeah, great. Liz, do you want to go with your picks?
Well, first of all, I'm very impressed with myself that I have the same 3 as Amanda. I would just like to say that because I admire Amanda. So I'm just going to say that. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the rain stick to me was like super compelling. Again, from a message perspective, their prototype, the use of it, the forward thinking of it, you know, that it is going to be, you know, probably, you know, a rude awakening for us, you know, over the next decade, if you know, not sooner than that. The table in the same way, I thought that the, you know, the way that they talked about, you know, the material of it, you know, the innovation, again, I go back to the accessibility of it, I thought was compelling. And then the material, I mean, again, I agree with Amanda. I think that they probably don't even know how far they can take the applications of it. And you think about people who have environmental sensitivities also, and all the applications that it can be used in. I think that they haven't probably even scratched the surface. So to me, the only, not even shortcoming, but I think they just haven't been able to determine, you know, how mass they can make it, you know, how can they scale the manufacturing of it while still keeping the integrity of both the material and the thoughtfulness behind it. But those were my 3.
Great. Catherine, your comments.
Yeah, well, we're all in sync because we came up with this the same top 3. And I echo each of everything that Amanda and Elizabeth has said. The Kalmura was really interesting, again, for the potential of that just being the scaling up could be awesome and amazing and so transformative in the built environment if it does happen. And so I think that's super exciting, and the potential is there. It's, you know, can it be, you know, can they actually get the business model to work, which would be, I guess, the biggest leap. But the concept is very solid and it's very inspiring. The proskim, I guess to say.
Okay, I'm going to do the whole House Hunters International thing and knock off one from my list.
Okay.
I would knock off the table as my and leave it now. So now I have my final 2.
I feel the same. Yeah, the table is not top for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could lose the table. I think it's a simpler concept in some ways, not to diminish it in any way, but the others are quite ambitious, and I think that's where they sort of they get a little bit ahead of the table.
Yeah, and then the remaining 2 are also complicated in its own ways, because one is definitely very ready to market and could probably scale. You know, I think they were already planning to launch it, the actual to sell at IDS in 2022. At least that's what they kept saying. And the other one is still in its very much like nascent stage, right?
They're both winners in my eyes. I think for me, I'm kind of, I do, you know, you have to lose one, I guess. But for me, I think the rain stick, just in terms of, I hadn't seen that before. You know, I think this product has gone above and beyond what is already on the market, or has been sort of, the concept hasn't really been on the market, and then they've taken it to a point where they actually are potentially going on the market within a year. That level is just very impressive. So I would say that would be my reason to go with them as the winner.
Great.
Yeah.
Amanda, your thoughts around that?
It was really hard. I was thinking about Camera in terms of the wall material, because so often you see like new materials being proposed, but then no application. So they've really addressed that really thoroughly. And I really appreciate that part of it, as well as the local production. So thinking about like, what are these waste materials that you can bring in from local places. So I also see, like, maybe it's just too poetic for what they want, but I also see the connection to a place beyond, like, kind of like the adobe building or the mud building, right? Like, you're actually building with that land. So seeing it as a connection to like the agriculture, and like really like having the terroir of the place in your building material, that was an exciting potential for me.
Elizabeth.
You know, I have to be a tiebreaker.
Maybe.
It's, you know, I think it's the success of the challenge, obviously, that we're really, you know, locked into these two. I think, again, the rain stick, to Catherine's point, I agree. We haven't seen this before. They've brought it as far as they're going to get. I mean, they're almost ready to market, right? And again, I know I've said this, but it does go back to, wow, if you could have a product that makes you think every single time you use it, every single time you interact with it, I mean, what an achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it has worldwide applications, you know, in countries, you know, like Canada, where we've got, you know, most of the world's freshwater supply, as well as countries that are starving for freshwater supply. And so I think that kind of application is super compelling to me. And to Catherine's point as well, I mean, the design itself, you know, in and of itself is quite a beautiful design. With regard to the material, I think the same way, in that it has a lot more applications possibly than they've let on. I'm not sure though, how well it's been, and I might have missed this, but how well it's been tested, for example, in various geographies, in various temperatures, and the variances between temperatures and various climates. So if you're going to, I mean, I know they're in British Columbia, which is great because you can be in almost, you know, a rainforest environment to a cold environment, but what happens, you know, in between those changes in seasonality, and how would it stand up to, you know, being in a tropical location where there would probably be a need for this kind of material, or being in a super hot desert kind of climate. So I think that it has so much potential, not as realized maybe as the rain stick. So if we were going to talk about, you know, the criteria of the design, the sustainability, the innovation, the materiality, the accessibility, I mean, I think both of those hit each one of them. But for me, what I would say is that I think that the rain stick is probably more fully realized. And I think that there's simplicity in that single message about it that I really like. It's not complicated, right? It's
Yeah.
really not complicated.
Yeah.
If we're down to the rain stick shower and the material, both of those things I've seen at IDS, like kind of in terms of like materials, right? Kind of the booth where it's really for the builders. So it's like making it exciting for people who are not shopping for materials or for shower heads is like that. I think that's awesome. So either way, I'm happy.